Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's class. So in today's class, we'll be looking at literature, and we'll be looking at the topic, genres of literature. Now, in literature, we have three genres, which are the drama, prose, and poetry. So these are the genres of literature according to their time range. The first is drama, is the oldest. Drama is the oldest, followed by prose, and followed by poetry. So poetry is the newest of the three. Now, I'm speaking categorically to some of my students who will be writing WAEC. Now listen, for poetry, because today we'll be looking at poetry as a subtopic, and for that time we'll be talking about drama and prose. For poetry, WAEC give you 6 African and 6 non-African texts to study. So your questions will be basically coming from this 12 combinations of poems. Now, following to this angle, as I outline some of the poem, or let me say, of the poem recommended for this season. These poems are given within the space of 4 years, and the one given is from 2026 to 2030. Now, these are the poems you need to understand and you need to study carefully, because these are where your questions are coming from. So, from the African poetry, we have it in 6 numbers. From the non-African poetry, we also have it in 6 numbers. And you must digest and study them carefully. Now, let's look at the one I tell you. That for the African poetry, we have Once Upon a Time by Gabriel Okara, New Tongue by Elizabeth L.A. Kamara, Night by Wole Soyinka, Not My Business by Nili Osundari, Hearty Gallant by S.O.H. Afi Vidza, The Breast of the Sea by Sil Chinikuka. I hope somebody is following me. Now, these are the non-African poems. We have She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. Number 2 is The Nun's Priest's Tale by Geoffrey Chaucer. We have Digging by Siasmo Amy. We have Still Rise by Maya Angelou. Oh, one of my favorites. We have The Telephone Call by Phil Arcue. We have The Stone by Wilfred Wilson Gibson. Pardon me for the pronunciation of the names. But one thing I need you to understand is that you must ensure you get all this poem in details. Please, don't only study their summary, because there are books that give it in summary. Please, familiarize yourself with the poems, all the poems, because you are not certain the angle WAEC or JAM will come from. So, NECO, GC, WAEC, or JAM, or any of them can pick any of these for their question. So, you must familiarize yourself with this poem. Now, one thing is certain. In itself, poetry is a write-up or a form of writing that comes from emotion, feelings. That's probably express your inner thoughts, your inner feelings, your emotions. But as a matter of fact, what is WAEC focus? Please take a good listening ear for this. Please, what is WAEC focus? from this poem. Now, when you are studying a poem, there are certain things you will look out to in the poem. When you are trying to read through a poem, don't just go through the poem and say I'm confused, or you read through the poem and you look at it and say the poem is complicating. No, there are angles where I want you to study from the poem. And I'll be taking you through each of these angles, one after the other. Each of these angles, one after the other. Now, the first and the foremost is the title interpretation. Now, what is the title interpretation of the poem? Please, it is not necessary that your poem, the title of your poem, speak directly on what you expected to study in the poem. So sometimes the title can be confusing even from the text. So you have to understand what is the deep message. Now listen, the title carries the deep message of the poem. So you must first understand the interpretation. For example, you come to a poem and you see once upon a time. Once upon a time, what happened? What is the writer trying to pass across about this poem? Once upon a time. Like, so you need to understand the title of the poem. You interpret it according to the poem. How somebody is following me. Now the next thing you need to critically scrutinize is the theme. Now what is the theme? It is the central message in the poem. Now every poem has a message it's trying to pass across. Every poem has something that the writer wants the reader to benefit or learn from. And this is what we call a theme in the poem. It can be theme of love, theme of hatred, theme of anger, theme of civilization, theme of colonization. Mention that. So we have a lot of themes that can be derived from a poem. How somebody is following. Now the next thing is subject matter. Now for someone not to confuse your thing with the subject matter, listen carefully. Now I say in a poem we can have more than a theme. You can have several themes, 2, 3 themes, 4 themes, 5 themes, even up to 10 themes, depending on the content of the text. Now, but subject matter talks about the key theme in summary of all things. If the writer has one major thing that he wants to talk about, although out of I can tell you a story, for example, and I say, what do you learn about this from this story? And somebody will tell me something, okay, I learned about we shouldn't be angry. Somebody will say, I learned about we should be contented, pardon. We should be contented with what we have. Now, this is an angle this person is coming from, this is an angle this person is coming from. That's theme. But the writer has a central message, a key message he's trying to pass across to the reader. And that is what we call the subject matter. For example, when you look at the story, if you have studied Once Upon a Time, one of the things the writer is trying to talk about there is change in values. The way things are done before, there is a change in the system. Faking things out. Being a person, acting who you are not. That's a center message. The main point the writer is trying to pass across. How somebody is following. Now the next topic is mood. Now what's the mood? Or some call it atmosphere. Is the attitude of the writer. The attitude of the writer. That's the mood. So what the writer feeling is the writer writing that poem from an angle of anger, or is actually what's his attitude? Is he sad? Is he sorrowful? Concerning the situation he's talking about, is the writer being joyful about the situation? Is the writer regretful about the situation? Is the writer intentional about the situation? Like, what is the attitude of the writer? And the next one is the tone. Now, the tone is a feeling the readers get. Right? The readers feeling. Like, you are reading the poem. What feeling does it give to you? You know, some reading novels or they will be reading poem and studying poem, they will say, oh, it gives them good bond. I've seen people reading poems and they are crying. That's a feeling. That's tone. The tone, the feeling they get from reading the poem. Then we have the setting. The setting. Now, what is the setting? This is a geographical location where the poem is set or is arranged. Where did the poem take place? That's what we're talking about setting. Now, listen, we have what we can group as the physical setting, and we also have the temporary setting. Now, the physical setting talks about the place exactly. For example, Lagos. For example, Africa. The poem talks about Africa in general, or the poem is talking about a rural area, or the poem is talking about city life, or the poem is talking about civilization. The particular area where you talk about the poem. The one temporary setting is the time. So, under this we have physical, which is the place, and we have, permitted to use here, temporary setting, which is the time. I hope somebody is following me. Alright, the next we're going to talk about is diction. Is the diction. Now, the diction is the language of the writer. The language. The choice of words of the writer. The choice of words. Is the writer using ambiguous words? Is the vocabulary simple? Is it difficult to understand? Is it straightforward? So, that's what we call diction. The diction. Then the next we talk about is the plot. Now, what's the plot? The plot is a chronological arrangement of events in the poem. The way, or you call it structure, the way the poem is being structured, that's what we call plot. Now, it's how many stanzas are there? You must take note in this poem. How many stanzas? How many verses? What is each stanza saying? Is the first stanza talking about introduction? The second stanza talking about the main idea? The third stanza talking about conclusion? So how many stanzas do we have there in the poem? Like, what each verses and what are they being interchanged? You know, some poem enter into each other. So this is what you take note. The plot, the arrangement of the poem. How is it being arranged? So the next thing is points of view, also known as POV. So you need to understand the writer's point of view. Which angle is the writer coming from? So the next one is point of view, also known as POV. So you must understand the writer's point of view. And we have 3 points of view. We have the first person point of view. We have the second person point of view. Then we have the third person point of view. So we have the first person point of view, we have the second person point of view, and we have the third person point of view. So these are the 3 categories of point of of view we have. Now, but the point is this: how do you identify this point of view? Now, the first person point of view, this is when you see words which indicate first person pronoun, like I, we, us. This is first person. It means the writer is involved in the poem. The writer is part of the events that happen in the poem. That's first person point of view. The second person point of view, when you see pronoun word as you, when you see the word you in the poem, it talks about the writer is not really involved, but the writer witnessed the events. So it's not part of the events, but he witnessed it. So that's the second person point of view. Then the third person point of view, when you see pronoun like he, she, they, them, that's third person point of view. It shows that the writer is not involved. The writer did not witness it, but the writer was told. So he has, when I say third-hand information about the story. So he was actually told. Let me take a narrative. For example, as a person, I wasn't there during the period of slavery or slave trade, but I've read a lot of documentation about it, have been told a lot of stories about it. So I sitting down to draft up a poem concerning slavery in Africa. I'm coming from third person point of view because I was not there. I didn't witness it. I was not involved. But I was told. That's third person point of view. So the more what I will use is they, them, he, she, our forefathers, because I wasn't there. That's third person point of view. Then we come to the next one, which I will reckon as poetic devices. Now, what is poetic devices? Poetic device is the techniques, or will I say the tool the writer used to pass the message or to drive home the message. And these are majorly our figure of speech. We have simile, metaphor, personification, oxymoron. We have even imagery, figure of sound, assonance, alliteration, onomatopoeia, pun. These are the various techniques that writer use, and it's called poetic device. So you must be able to identify the poetic device, even proverbs. The poetic device the writer used in the poem. And what is the implication of those poetic devices in the poem, like the effects? Or what the purpose of these poetic devices? So you must understand the poetic device in the poem. The next or the last, okay, this is our number 10, then the last one, which is our number 11 for today, I call it personal response. Personal response. Now, this personal response is all about you, the student who is writing the exam. So, we are talking about how do you answer this question that have been placed before you. Now, don't answer the question from the point of copying other answer. Answer from the point of personal understanding. Yeah. So that's why you must familiarize yourself with the poem. Now, when you're answering a question, for example, let's say, explain the theme of love in the poem. You are expected that while you answer this question, you trace a verse or word that refers to that theme of love from the poem and insert it into your explanation. That shows the examiner or the marker that this person is fully aware of the poem. So your personal response must capture the marker's point, the marker's idea, the marker's mind. So you must be able to start from self-understanding of all about the poem. That's why you must be well fully aware about the poem, digest the poem well. So, for today, we're going to pause here. For that updates, I'll be giving us each of these poems, explaining them, and we are going to be tracing them back to the themes and the major points we have here. So, I will only beg your pardon that you should ensure to like, follow us, like this page, follow, subscribe on our YouTube page as Aero-Lead Student Foundation. You are going to get the best. You are going to have the best of lecture so far. Ensure you are following back to back, and this is going to help you a lot. Thank you. I appreciate, and God bless you.